Hi, in this video we will talk about role and significance of renal biomarkers. So, nephrotoxicity. What is nephrotoxicity? It is rapid deterioration in the kidney function due to toxic effect of medications and chemicals. Nephrotoxicity resulting from drug exposure has been estimated to contribute to 19 to 25% of all cases of acute kidney injury. Acute kidney injury, the currently preferred term for the clinical disorder formerly called acute renal failure. Greater than 35 different definitions of acute kidney injury in the published literature rely on changes in serum creatinine level. Mechanisms lead to nephrotoxicity. So, there are various mechanisms involved like alterations of renal intraglomerular hemodynamic, renal tubular cytotoxicity, glomerulonephritis and interstitial nephritis, drug-induced crystal nephropathy, and drug-induced thrombotic microangiopathy. Microangiopathy. Some examples of nephrotoxic drugs that have provided a very high therapeutic benefit includes aminoglycoside antibiotics, cancer drug cisplatin, and the antiviral drug tenofovir. Kidney function. So, filtering the role of kidney is to filter approximately 150 to 180 liters of plasma per day. It processes the filtrate to regulate fluid, electrolyte and acid-base balance and eliminates waste products. It also produces hormones which are important for cardiovascular, hematologic and skeletal muscle homeostasis. Susceptibility of the kidney to the drug toxicity is due to its anatomy and function. For example, nephrotoxins can accumulate to high concentrations in the medulla as a result of the counter-current exchange function of the medullary vasculature. The hypoxia of the medulla also increases the susceptibility of tubular cells to nephrotoxicants. Most drug-induced renal injuries affect the proximal tubules. So, drugs with different mechanisms of toxicity frequently affect different parts of the kidney. For example, different regions of the nephrons are characterized by different transporters, metabolic characteristics, blood flow characteristics, and oxygen tensions. So, in this diagram, mostly the drugs which are affected, particularly the proximal tubules of the nephron, then to the glomeruli, then distal convoluted tubule, then collecting duct, and at last loop of Henle. So analgesics mainly affect loop of Henle. Urine formation or filtration of blood. Mainly, so in this diagram, first diagram is enlarged, which shows, so first diagram is of kidney which is enlarged and shown the cross section of the kidney, which shows nephrons, the particular one unit which is present in the kidney, in both including in cortex and medulla and the renal pyramid. So further nephron is enlarged in this third figure, which shows the different parts involved in nephron. So like glomeruli, which is responsible for filtration, then tubules, that is proximal and distal convoluted tubules, which are responsible for reabsorption and secretion. So each kidney contains over 1 million tiny structures which are called as nephrons. Each nephron has a glomerulus, the site for blood filtration. Reabsorption moves nutrients and water back into the bloodstream, and then waste ions and hydrogen ions secreted from the blood. So this is how blood is found. So mainly it involves three processes, that is filtration, reabsorption and secretion. The filtration membrane keeps blood cells and large proteins in the bloodstream. Then in reabsorption, The essential ions, glucose, amino acid, and smaller proteins are reabsorbed from the renal tubule. And in secretion stage, the nutrients and water are reabsorbed into capillaries. At the same time, waste ions and hydrogen ions pass from the capillaries into the renal tubule. This is how the urine flows out of the nephron tubule into a collecting duct at last. So, these all three steps of urine formation, only waste and water, excess water are removed from the body in these stages. Detection of high molecular weight proteins in the urine due to nephron dysfunction. Normally, the glomeruli restrict the transport and migration of high molecular weight proteins from the blood to the lumen of the nephron. But during pathological conditions, high molecular weight proteins such as albumin, transferrin, and immunoglobulin mainly detected or identified in the urine due to nephron dysfunction. These are more sensitive proteins in the early detection of, for example, albumin. It detects glomerular filtration dysfunction. Transferrin detects glomerular damage, whereas immunoglobulin detects structural glomerular damage. Detection of low molecular weight proteins in the urine due to proximal renal tubule damage. Normally, low molecular weight proteins are mainly reabsorbed at renal proximal tubules, but when there is an excess in the amount of low molecular weight protein concentrations, this leads, for example, alpha 1 microglobulin, beta 2 microglobulin, cystatin C, retinol binding protein, and kidney injury molecule. So, this amount leads to nephron overload that exceeding the proximal renal tubules reabsorbing capacity. Therefore, proximal renal tubules damage lead to low molecular weight proteinuria due to failure of the reabsorption capacity. Traditional markers of nephrotoxicity and renal dysfunction. So, blood urea and serum creatinine are two major traditional biomarkers used in clinical as well as preclinical stages. So, these are but they are low sensitive in the detection of early damage. Also, they does not determine the severity of nephrotoxic induced renal damage. So, it is required that initial renal injury requires new biomarkers which are more sensitive and highly specific, that gives an insight into the site of underlying renal damage. So, serum creatinine. In rodents and other animals, baseline serum creatinine levels are often at the lower end of the detectable range, and there needs to be substantial injury before serum creatinine levels increase outside the normal range. Thus, in humans as well as in experimental animals, a measurable change in glomerular filtration rate or other measures of kidney function may be evident only after considerable injury has occurred. Large changes in glomerular filtration rate may be associated with relatively small changes in serum creatinine in the first 24 to 48 hours following acute kidney injury. As serum creatinine is affected not only by GFR but also by the systemic production of creatinine and the tubular secretion of creatinine. Serum creatinine is reasonable when serum creatinine reaches a new steady state. It becomes a reasonable measure of the new GFR. Also, when renal function improves, serum creatinine underestimates GFR until a new steady state is reached. Considerable variability among patients in the correlation between serum creatinine and baseline GFR, the magnitude of functional renal reserves, and rates of creatinine synthesis. Blood urea nitrogen is not a reliable measure of kidney injury because blood urea nitrogen is freely filtered by the glomerulus, but urea is then reabsorbed to varying degrees by other parts of the nephron. Also, Increased levels of BUN can be observed if urea production is increased, as occurs with exogenous, for example with protein supplementation, or endogenous, for example catalytic states or blood in gastrointestinal tracts. Ideal features of biomarkers used to detect drug-induced kidney toxicity. So, biomarkers should identify kidney injury early, that is, well before the renal reserve is dissipated and levels of serum creatinine increase. It also reflects the degree of toxicity in order to characterize dose dependency. It displays similar reliability across multiple species, including humans. It also should localize site of kidney injury. It should track progression of injury and recovery from damage. It is well characterized with respect to limitations of its capacities, and it should be accessible in readily available body fluids or tissues. So, new biomarkers of kidney injury includes injury molecule cystatin C and neutrophil gelatinase associated lipocalin sera levels. Other than this, clusterin, interleukin 18, osteopontin, fatty acid binding protein liver type, these are also the newly identified biomarkers. Apart from this, there are other biomarkers which we will see in the upcoming slides. Before moving further, we will understand about kidney injury molecule 1 and cystatin C. So, kidney injury molecule 1, it is epithelial cell adhesion molecule found in the proximal tubules. KIM1 messenger RNA and protein are expressed at low levels in normal kidneys. KIM1 production is also increased in proximal tubules after drug-induced liver injury. Urinary KIM1 is a non-invasive, rapid, sensitive and reproducible biomarker. The increase in urinary KIM1 precedes the increase in creatinine in patients that developed acute kidney injury. Serum level of KIM1 is linked and correlated with the immune response of renal proximal tubule damage during nephrotoxicity. KIM1 is detected in blood since it's stable and can be directly identified. Now we'll see about cystatin C. It is linked with reduction of GFR and glomerular filtration. Cystatin C serum levels predict the stage and progression of renal diseases. It is freely filtered by the glomerulus and is completely reabsorbed by the proximal tubules. While serum cystatin C is a functional marker of GFR similar to serum creatinine, and it is not affected by muscle mass, diet, gender or tubular secretion, etc. The urinary kidney biomarkers accepted by the FDA and European Medicines Agency includes KIM1, albumin, total protein, B2M, clusterin, TFF3, cystatin C. These are highly sensitive and specific urinary biomarkers to monitor drug-induced kidney injury in preclinical studies and on a case-by-case basis in clinical trials. So now we'll see characteristics of these biomarkers. First one is beta-2 microglobulin. It is protein produced by all cells expressing major histocompatibility complex class 1 antigen. The synthesis is increased in disease states in which there is increased proliferation of lymphoid cells such as infection, autoimmune diseases or certain neoplasms. Beta-2 microglobulin is freely filtered by the glomerulus and completely reabsorbed by proximal tubular cells. Impaired uptake as a result of tubular injury results in increased B2M urinary secretion, and thus B2M is considered a direct marker of tubular dysfunction. However, increased B2M production or isolated glomerular disease may increase urinary excretion as well. Next we will see about albumin urea and proteinuria. Albumin is a high molecular weight protein that is about 66.5 kilodalton that is not normally detected in urine in quantities greater than 30 mg per gram creatinine. It can be found in the urine of patients with glomerular or tubular kidney injury. Now we'll see about clusterin. It is glycosylated protein involved in both apoptotic and anti-apoptotic pathway. It is found in number of organ systems including the kidney. Clusterin expression has been associated with tumorigenesis and the progression of various malignancies. After tubular injury, clusterin gene expression is known to be upregulated. The clusterin protein is not thought to be able to be filtered through the glomeruli and thus is considered to be an exclusive marker of damage to tubular cells. Other markers of kidney injury includes different cytokines, vitronectin, integrin. So we'll see them one by one. Different cytokines such as interleukin, interferon, and colony-stimulating factors play an important and integral role in tubular damage and repair. So they are considered as markers of kidney injury. They can be detected in both urine and blood. Interleukins, in particularly high interleukin 18 serum levels, are linked with renal tubular atrophy and interstitial fibrosis. High urinary IL-18 is correlated with acute kidney injury and drug-induced nephrotoxicity. Next is vitronectin. It is a glycoprotein synthesized by hepatocytes and circulated in the plasma. It is deposited during the pathogenesis of renal disease. Thus, it may promote or attenuate fibrogenesis during renal interstitial injury. Vitronectin serum levels are correlated with fibrosis. Next is integrin. It regulates critical cell functions and homeostasis during glomerular injury through antifibrotic effect, thus leading to significant glomerular protection. Shortcomings of histopathology. Although histopathology is the gold standard to detect renal injury, it is not without its shortcoming. It does not identify non-histopathology associated types of kidney disturbances, such as either inhibition of the transporters in the proximal tubule or inhibition of vasopressin action in the collecting ducts. A degree of subjectivity is associated with histopathological evaluation. Histopathology invariably introduces a delay in appearance of injury, and in humans it is usually impractical, as biopsies usually permit only limited sampling of kidney tissue. Misinterpreted as kidney injury. So, increased urinary levels of a marker that is expressed by vascular or blood cells in addition to kidney tubules may reflect systemic perturbation rather than kidney injury. Also, blood or urine marker that is produced by an organ other than kidney, which enters the bloodstream and is filtered by the kidney, can be misinterpreted as reflecting kidney injury. The most useful biomarkers are those that can be used in animals and humans. A good example of a situation in which the abandonment of a drug owing to species-specific differences in nephrotoxicity would have prevented many patients from benefiting from use of Sustiva, that is efavirenz. It is non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor for treating HIV infection. It is developed by Bristol Myers Squibb and it causes renal epithelial cell necrosis in rats but not in cynomolgus monkeys or humans. Thus, toxicity in rats arises from a species-specific nephrotoxic glutathione conjugated metabolite. Challenges in assessing drug nephrotoxicity in humans. We do not have tools capable of predicting nephrotoxicity across species boundaries. Thanks.